Massive win for the San Francisco 49ers in primetime. Sunday nighter defeating the Atlanta Falcons 20-10. It was a vintage San Francisco 49ers performance. Welcome back, George Kittle. We got game balls. We got all the post-game reaction right now on Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Coach Crocky. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with this postgame here as we talk 49ers Falcons. Massive win for the San Francisco 49ers, who stay on pace at the top of the NFC West. And just when you think the team is down, they are not out. And big-time performances this year from a San Francisco 49ers team that is extremely banged up and missing a lot of players. Got a huge player back in this one, and we saw a vintage performance from Christian McCaffrey, too. So we're going to get into all of that stuff on this episode. Want to hear from you guys that are live with us in the chat. And if you're not live with us, you can still say hi to us on Twitter or in the YouTube comments. Make sure you're subbed up there. This episode brought to you by PrizePicks and the PrizePicks app. And right now at PrizePicks, a special offer for our listeners. You download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. This was the 49ers that we've seen for 8 years, right? And we've talked a lot this season, Croc, about the San Francisco 49ers run game, and Christian McCaffrey's going for 3.2 yards per carry. And can it be overrated how much of an impact George Kittle made? Because it wasn't just all George Kittle's blocks, but George Kittle being back, all of a sudden the 49ers are over 5 yards carry again. And it was that classic bully ball vintage performance. And Christian McCaffrey finding the end zone 2 times, the second effort on the second touchdown, 24 carries for 129 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. And there was one point in the game in the first half, Croc, that Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson were both 7 yards per carry. And the only thing that changed is that George Kittle is back in the lineup for the 49ers. So you've got to give at least some of, if not all of the credit there to George Kittle.
You know, I'm really big on doing what you're supposed to do against who you're supposed to do it against. And if I'm not mistaken, the Atlanta Falcons had like a bottom 5 rush defense in the NFL. So if there was a game where you're the 49ers, like, look, this has not been working. It hasn't been hitting. We have to figure something out. You get a spark in the run game, getting George Kittle back, and we need this to kind of get to the next level. They definitely had the right opponent on their schedule at the right time, and they executed just about as well, if not better, than you could have hoped against the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they were awesome, and early on, I didn't know how it was going to look. I don't know if it was the first play of the game where Mac Jones like took a sack or got hit. And from there, the 49ers almost like on early downs, like, let's not be super predictable. Let's kind of throw the ball to kind of loosen up the run defense of the Atlanta Falcons and maybe create a little bit more wiggle room so we can get these runs off. And then they realized, oh, dude, let's just keep running down their throats. And from then on, they just gave the ball to Christian McCaffrey. They gave the ball to Robinson. And they did a terrific job all game, just blocking it up. I thought CMC was seeing the holes extremely well and hitting those. So, it was awesome, and it definitely was more of a vintage performance by the 49ers rushing offense.
In the chat, Idris says the plays changed too. There might have been a different percentage of a certain type of run versus another, maybe a little bit less wide zone, a little bit more gap, some power elements to it. But those elements and those plays were run during the season, maybe not as high of a percentage, but nothing had worked this season in the ground game like it did tonight for the 49ers. So it was just a pretty massive game for the 49ers to come up with a big win, 20-10 over the Atlanta Falcons. Felt a lot like that primetime game on Thursday night against the Los Angeles Rams, albeit not a division opponent. It was still a conference opponent. And the 49ers only have one loss now in the entire conference, still unbeaten in the division as well. So it's really massive with this win in a lot of ways for the 49ers and to prove they can still win, missing so many players. And a lot of the elements that the 49ers needed a couple of Thursdays ago to beat the Rams when they were underdogs. And as someone pointed out here in the chat, the games where I was the most skeptical of the 49ers. Yeah, here we go. NoCo 49ers says, hey, Peacock, keep going against us. It's helping. The Rams game and this game were the two least confident I was in the 49ers to win the game. Yeah, I was even less confident in this game than I was last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that the 49ers were not victorious. And it was a similar game script, right? The 49ers able to go down the field on offense, put the ball in the end zone, winning the turnover battle, winning the special teams. You have to say a lot about Eddie Pinheiro making all of his kicks, right? And we'll get to more specific with our game balls here in a little bit, Croc. And I think there's so many game balls, we could probably just make the entire episode about who gets game balls and why in a big win like this for the 49ers. But you've got to win in the margins as well as winning on the field, winning on the lines. And the 49ers did all of those things in this one. And I think if we're giving out game balls, I kind of want to, obviously, George Kittle is going to get a game ball, Croc. But we got to start with, I think, Robert Saleh. And is either Robert Saleh a genius or is Michael Penix actually trash? Because that passing game was bad and non-existent. And the 49ers did a number on Bijan Robinson in the run game too. Bijan had 2.9 yards per carry in this football game. And I know he got in the end zone and he was involved in the passing game as well. But Croc, when I was doing the crossover with Aaron Freeman of Locked On Falcons earlier this week, I was saying something to the effect of, look, I get Bijan's the best player, and he just went for 900 yards last week against the Bills. But the 49ers are better against the run. So if they're prepared to stop anything, it's to stop the run game. And he had a look on his face like I was talking crazy to him. But the 49ers did that. But on top of doing that, they actually got the pass rush going, and Michael Penix looked like a defeated human. He was missing wide open players by a lot by the end of that game. Drake London was barely like a footnote in this football game. Their leading receiver yardage-wise was Darnell Mooney on 3 catches. They hit a few over the middle of the field to Kyle Pitts. I mean, the defense was the big story here. I mean, we've grown to expect it from Christian McCaffrey and his pedigree, but the 49ers are missing a lot on the defensive side of the ball. You lose Renardo Green, and they still did a number on these Atlanta Falcons, holding them to 10 points.
I think one of the things that the 49ers did well is right away, I mean, they were hitting Penix. And Bryce Hall coming around that corner, being able to get pressure on them early and often. I don't know how many times he got hit. And he got hit kind of low a couple of times too. I was watching the game with my bros, and they're like, isn't that supposed to be illegal? I was like, well, it's not tonight. So it was fun watching the 49ers just get pressure, get home. And we saw how that really changes the way a quarterback has to play the game. And then when getting on the move, I thought Penix wasn't very successful. Then that talks about how the 49ers are playing on the back end, which, I don't think they've played their best football in the secondary, really most of this season. But when you see a quarterback start to scramble, get on the move, and still have nowhere to go, that says that the secondary was doing a good job as well. So the 49ers really winning at multiple levels in this game, even in the absence of big dogs like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner.
No doubt. Really fun game for the San Francisco 49ers. Let's get a little bit deeper in here, talk about some specific plays, some turning points in this game, and more game balls from the Niners' Sunday night win over the Atlanta Falcons, 20-10. Next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried in by hundreds of apps that slow your teams down and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's SAD. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the united platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. And it unites your employees, teams, and departments in one system. Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. It's ridiculous. It's seriously simple to use and gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. Again, that is rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Rippling, rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Again, that's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. This episode is also brought to you by PrizePicks. And every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. I wasn't right when I picked the Atlanta Falcons to win this game, but I was right when I said, you know what? You might want to utilize one of the newest features on PrizePicks, the stacks, where you can ride with one player and select, for example, Christian McCaffrey, pass yards, rush yards, touchdowns, or in this case, rush yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, all in one lineup. And man, the injury reboot feature, if your player leaves early and doesn't return, it will not count against you. Playing PrizePicks is so much fun. It's very simple, and it's super easy if you've never played PrizePicks. All you do is you pick more or less on player projections, like Christian McCaffrey rushing yards or receiving yards, and then you're in the game. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, Croc. So clearly a game ball for George Kittle, even though he wasn't involved at all in the passing game. And the 49ers, to be honest, didn't need a lot in the passing game. And when they went to the passing game, there was a lot of short stuff to Christian McCaffrey, who had not only 24 carries, but 7 receptions in this game as well. So 31 total touches for 300 yards in this game for Christian McCaffrey, including, 200 yards, including 200. Yeah, 200. Sorry, I got a little excited. 200 yards, 31 touches for 200 total yards, and 2 touchdowns for Christian McCaffrey in this game. So, I mean, and look, we've talked about Christian McCaffrey maybe losing a step in past weeks. And I think there's some plays, because he got to the second level way more than he has all season long in this game. I think there were some runs where 2023 Christian McCaffrey might still be running, but he still ripped off a lot of yardage in this football game. Even if there was that last guy that he didn't make miss that maybe he could have made miss in years past, he was awesome. It was really fun to see him super confident, see the 49ers offensive line confident, making plays, and seeing him get into the second level. I want to hear your thoughts on the run game and Christian McCaffrey specifically, Croc, a little bit more here. But there is a stat here from, I thought I had it from Nick Wagner. At some point in the game, McCaffrey, I think it was halftime, McCaffrey had already had 50-something yards after or before contact, which, remember a couple weeks ago, there was the game where he had 1 yard before contact in the game. And so there was a lot to do up front, as well as McCaffrey making plays and just being confident. And you saw him demonstratively more confident in this football game. And the second effort on that last touchdown, even if it might have been a Connor Colby penalty for picking him up and helping him carry into the end zone, everyone's working, everyone's giving second effort to get the ball in the end zone. Bully ball is back, baby.
No, I think to get the run game going, man, it takes everybody. And when the offensive line, they're executing a lot of their blocks. I saw some pulls and what that looked like. And then Christian McCaffrey just seen it extremely well and accelerating through the hole. And he looked good. You know, we have talked about not quite the same juice. And I think some of my takes are getting lumped in with other people that may be saying other things about him in a different way. But in no way, shape, or form am I saying that Christian McCaffrey is washed at all. I think he's a very productive running back when he has the room. And tonight he had the room, and you got to see, you know, what he was able to do, especially with his vision. And then we know what he's done consistently game in and game out with catching the ball. And he's continued to do that. I looked at his stats for the season. To this point, he has more receiving yards right now than rushing yards. So this is a guy that is being very productive for the 49ers in multiple facets of the game. And they're going to need him to, because you don't have the big dogs out there at receiver. Again, still, there's no Ricky Pearsall. There's still no Brandon Ayuk. You had George Kittle out there, and that was his first action. I don't even think he ended up with a catch. Had one kind of go off of his hands. It was kind of a weird passing play. But Christian McCaffrey has had to be everything. And to get the amount of touches think he's like leading the NFL in touches right now. It's just remarkable to see him being able to do that and hold up. And that was one of the big things. Like, man, Christian McCaffrey's had these injuries, kind of banged up. What's it going to look like? Is going to be able to hold up throughout the entire season? And I think a lot of people are holding their breath, hoping that, the 49ers don't overutilize him too much. And you see them using Robinson in the run game, kind of sparing him just a little bit. But, man, he was awesome tonight. And you're right, it did look like a little bit of vintage Christian McCaffrey.
Absolutely. Back onto the defensive side of the ball, Croc. I think you've got to give a game ball to Tatum Bethune, the way he played. And we saw him play very similar last week in for Fred Warner. And obviously you're never going to replace Fred Warner 1-for-1, but Bethune was everywhere. I really loved at the end of the game that meet me at the quarterback moment with Michael Penix, where Bethune is putting I think, I don't know, it might have been Algier, I think, putting him on his backside on his way to the quarterback. And then Michael Williams is pushing through his man and gets there, and Huff is going around the corner and he gets there. And we haven't had a lot of meetings at the quarterback, Croc. And that's a little addition to him running around and making tackles in the run game as well. So huge stock up for Tatum Bethune. It was really awesome to see him step in and play well and wear the rookie year number 48 Fred Warner jersey when he showed up at the stadium. That's a nice little hat tip from him.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. That was awesome. And just to see Fred Warner in the stands on the Jumbotron, hyping everybody up. I saw him on the field on TV. I'm watching it on TV. But, rolling around pre-game on the little scooter thing with his leg propped up. But, I'm pretty sure for his teammates, it's really inspiring to see him out there. He's the vocal leader, the emotional leader, and he led a lot of times with his play as well. So watching Bethune out there, Tatum Bethune, and what he was doing, flying around, and they took one of his sacks away from him because of an illegal contact down the field by Diamador Lenoir. But overall, man, I thought he had a really cool game, and he was flying around. D. Winters, while getting tackles, I feel like was very quiet in this game. You notice Bethune kind of jump out a little bit more. I don't know if it was roll or what, but quietly, Winters played solid, but you just didn't hear a lot from it.
There was one of the bigger plays in this game early on was Sam Okuwanu had this coverage sack on that super long Falcons drive. They took up the entire quarter of the football game essentially on this one drive, and they only ended up getting 3 points out of it. At that point, it was 3-0 Falcons. And Okuwanu got the sack, but it was a coverage sack. And I was starting to watch the back end of the 49ers, and I'm thinking, man, and this is now with the lack of the pass rush that we've been talking about the last few weeks. You have no Fred Warner in coverage now, and Upton Stout is hurt, and then Renardo Green left this game as well, and Darrell Luter came in the game. Yet Darrell Luter, Diamador Lenoir, Chase Lucas, there was not a lot of places to throw the football a lot of times. And so the coverage is really good for the 49ers. On top of getting a little bit more heat on Michael Penix than I expected, especially in the second half of the game. So again, like, they're getting coached up. Are the reserves just better than we thought they were going to be for the 49ers? Does it all come back to Robert Saleh? I was impressed with the secondary. Luter was out there kind of strutting around a little bit, looking like he's like, hey, yeah, cool. I'm starting now. Good, because I'm going to play like a starter.
Early in the game, Bethune-Cookman. Now I'm seeing the chats and they're like, Bethune-Cookman, Croc's ready for that HBCU homecoming.
Did you hear the nugget during the game that they're related to the Bethune-Cookman, the founder of Bethune-Cookman College?
Really?
Tatum Bethune is. And Bethune, I heard this week that I had no idea about. Tatum Bethune's dad was Nick Bosa's high school football coach.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw the picture.
Crazy.
So that's pretty awesome. Early in the game, the 49ers, some of the reserve defensive backs getting beat down the field. You didn't quite like to see that, but I felt like they settled in, especially after halftime. And Chase Lucas, I saw someone in the comments talk about it. All right, 49ers still waiting on that one interception, and Chase Lucas almost had it. All right, now the 49ers still got the stop, and it was a huge fourth down stop by Chase Lucas. Terrific job to break in front of that ball. But, man, let's get some money there. All right, this is a guy who last year was on the practice squad. You have him this year. I'm assuming it's probably a 1-year contract. You have an opportunity for a big play on primetime television You have to catch that ball, and you got to take it the other way for a touchdown. Huge opportunity for him, but nonetheless, a big-time stop by Chase Lucas and the 49ers defensive backs.
Unfair in the chat by Alex, by the way. Saying the last time the 49ers had an interception, Crockhead hair. Come on, that's uncalled for. But it does feel that way. It does feel that way, but the 49ers still found a way without still another game without an interception. And Chase Lucas almost had one. Love the way he jumped that ball, 4th and 1, such a huge play in this game. A couple other big plays I want to talk about here, and more game balls to give out as well in the 49ers win Sunday Night Football style, improving to 5-2 over the Atlanta Falcons. Coming up. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. And when you drive a Mazda, you feel a Mazda. It feels different. It drives different. You could feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, the metallic accents to how everything comes together around you when you sit and drive that Mazda vehicle. Napa leather upholstery available, and you can make everyday drives feel like anything but, with smooth handling and intuitive controls. And take it from me, I've been driving a Mazda for 10 years, man, and it drives like nothing else. It drove so much better than anything else, and it's really what got me hooked on the Mazda. And you can drive with confidence. Mazda delivers more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else, and all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, so you can drive with confidence through almost any season. And like the players on the field, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. NFL season rolling along now. 7 weeks of the season, in fact, in the books for the 49ers, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. And I don't know how long this offer is going to be around. It's the best offer I've seen from FanDuel, because right now new customers can still bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. All you do, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. Weekly lines, player props, build your own parlays, and you can even follow along during live during games, follow along with live lines, and do live in-game betting if you feel the momentum going one way or another. Not just NFL football either, college football, Major League Baseball playoffs, NBA season getting going now, NHL season getting going now. You can find all of it and more at FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Croc. One of the sneaky big parts of this football game was the right before the half. And this is where it's like, how much credit do you give Robert Saleh? Like, all of a sudden a pass rush out of nowhere. These guys there's coverage sacks. There's nowhere to throw the ball. But then sometimes there was places to throw the ball, and you have Penix throwing the ball in weird places. I think I don't know if I love the game plan necessarily from the Atlanta Falcons in this football game in some cases, but the Penix grounding penalty right before halftime allowed the 49ers to go into halftime with a 10-3 lead and get the football back and have an opportunity to make it a 2-score game, which they did. They didn't put the ball in the end zone, but they came right back the first drive of the third quarter. Eddie Pinheiro hit another field goal to make it 13-3. And then you had a 2-score lead. And even after the Bijan touchdown on a really Bijan-heavy drive later on in the third quarter, the 49ers were able to just run the ball and be bullies and take that 2-score lead again. And then that's how the game ended, 20-10. But it was really big for the 49ers to not give up those points at the end of the half. And so it was only one first half field goal. And then they had that touchdown in the second half on a long drive. And so basically 2 big drives by the Falcons really all night. And so, again, credit to Saleh. I think he was a much better defensive coordinator than the Falcons' offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, in this game. I thought Penix didn't play great. I thought the 49ers covered well despite some of the injuries and backups in there. I thought the 49ers rushed the passer really well, stopped the run really well despite losing some of the players. So just an all-around really good effort, and I think it was kind of a little bit of everything with Penix not playing well. I think the Niners had a better plan. Niners were better coached, and on this day, it looked like the 49ers had better players. And even though the Falcons have 8 first-round picks on their offense.
Who's the Falcons head coach? Is it Raheem Morris?
Raheem Morris, yeah, but he doesn't call plays on either side of the ball. So it's Zach Robinson, offensive coordinator, and it's Jeff Ulbrich calling plays on defense.
What does he do? Because you're talking about coaching and better coaching. Every time they pan to him, I feel like I don't see him say a word. There was one time where it was going to be 4th down and they had to decide they were going to go for it or not. They had the camera in his face the entire time, and he didn't say not one word. Like, bro, what do you do? you know, like I want my head coach involved to some extent in just the decisions, right? Let's say the Detroit Lions with Campbell. Like Dan Campbell, he doesn't call offense, he doesn't call defense. But when they pan to him, he's talking in that headset. He has some kind of input. Raheem Morris is just standing there with the same. He had the same look on his face from the start of the game to the end, and I don't think I saw him mutter one word. So I just had to bring that up because you talked about coaching, and that was something that just jumped out to me. What does this guy do?
Come to think of it, yeah, like every time they show him, very stoic, he's under control, but it's like, go yell at somebody, go push a guy and get $100,000 fine. Go do something, Raheem Morris. You know, you're getting your butts kicked in this football game. You just kind of enjoying the game like everybody else, it seems like.
And he's a big time football guy. I mean, he's been around forever, been to a lot of places, coached with Kyle Shanahan. Like, I'm pretty sure he has like some kind of thoughts or inputs on the situations, and you just didn't see anything. Maybe just the TV didn't catch it, but they panned to him a lot. And every time they pan to Kyle Shanahan, he's walking around, he's pacing back and forth, mouth is moving, he's talking to players. You just didn't quite see that from Raheem Morris. And maybe the 49ers kind of missed that. They talked about, Steve Wilkins. He wasn't quite Robert Saleh, and they had some different guys, and I felt like they were trying to manufacture a Robert Saleh without actually having him until they finally got him back. But you see how active he is with all of the players and how they're buying into that. And the Atlanta Falcons, I mean, they had a great opportunity to build on something right now. Had some wins. You're like, okay, are they going to be for real? And like you said, you were a little nervous about this game, and then they just looked like a team that came to the Bay Area and was very unmotivated to play good football.
Talking about showing the coaches on TV, and I felt like there was a lot of head coach shots in this game because there's a lot of weird calls. 2 calls in particular. One that was a no call that the 49ers apparently should have had a 10-yard penalty for Connor Colby kind of trying to pull Christian McCaffrey into the end zone on that second touchdown run, which is weird because if tush push is legal, but tush pull is not legal, Croc, what are we doing here? Like pick one or the other. Either you can help a guy into the end zone or he has to make it there all by himself, right? And then some really just bad calls, I think. And I figured you'd be on the side of Diamador Lenore on that defensive pass interference call down the football field. That Kyle Shanahan was really upset, and I don't blame him. I thought it was an awful call. I saw some really bad calls all day Sunday in a lot of different games.
Yeah, I think it was Riley Moss in the Denver Bronco game. I thought there was a terrible call on him on a severely underthrown ball. The Diamador Lenore one, there was one where, the illegal contact, I understood what they were calling on him with that. Yeah. The defensive pass interference, that was BS. That was BS. So, I agree with Kyle Shanahan on that one.
Yep. I had a feeling you might agree with him on that one. Let's see. As far as game balls go, Croc, is there any game balls you want to give out here? Because I've got one more game ball that I think we have to give to, and that's Eddie Dinero Pinero. And of course, he made a couple of big field goals in this game and has just not missed as a member of the San Francisco 49ers. In fact, according to ESPN's Nick Wagner, Eddie Pinero has a franchise record now for consecutive made field goals to open a season with 17, passing Robbie Gould from 2017, who had 15. So that was the old record. So Ed Pinero is like 2 ahead now of the old record with 17 straight field goals to start the season. Pinero on field goals of 40-plus yards this year. He's 10 of 10. Jake Moody on field goals of 40-plus yards last year was 10 of 20. 50% Moody was. Pinero 100% right now for the San Francisco 49ers.
Translation, don't draft kickers in the 3rd round. Not Eddie Pinero, he's been awesome. And we're not just talking about chip shots. You mentioned the 40-yarders. I mean, he has some 50-yarders in there and some deep 50-yarders as well. And did it today, too. Bang one through from 53, 54 yards?
The only thing he's looked weird on is extra points. Remember, he missed his first extra point, and I think he doinked one off the inside of the upright, which is the second time he's done that now with the 49ers, but everything else going in.
Yeah, money. He's been money. Now, I'd like to give a game ball to, did we give one to Bryce Huff?
No, have not brought up Bryce Huff yet. Absolutely deserves a game ball.
Yeah, awesome. Coming around that edge, showing that Von Miller bent. I ain't saying he's Von Miller, but just watching him come around that edge and bounce up and be able to force that fumble on Penix, that was awesome. And that's some of the instant beating of an offensive lineman that the 49ers have really been missing. So to see him do that not once, but multiple times, that was awesome to see. I don't think the 49ers capitalized on that drive. I think they may have had either a 3 and out and punted the ball, or something happened to where I don't think the 49ers got any points out of that. But just to stop the other team at midfield when maybe they're trying to make a push to do something, those are the plays that really, really, really do a great job of changing the outcome of games.
It's so huge for the 49ers because outside of Bosa, nobody else has been able to create pressure by themselves except for Bryce Huff. And to see him turn the corner and get a strip sack, and he almost got a second strip sack that got overturned. It was actually ended up being an incomplete pass, but he got to the quarterback again there and hit Darrell Luter and might have messed up Darrell Luter's hand, might have messed Michael Penix's hand up, which is why maybe he was kind of off a little bit at the end of the game as well. He was credited with 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, Bryce Huff, but just a huge impact, especially late in that football game. And again, that meeting at the quarterback with Huff and Tatum Bethune and Mykel Williams later in the game was really fun. I think it was on that same drive where he almost had the second strip sack. So absolute game ball for Bryce Huff. Good call, Croc. I think that's it. I'm out of game balls here. That's a lot of game balls already, and well-deserved for the San Francisco 49ers, who improved to 5-2 now on the season. I think one other factor we haven't really talked about, Croc, with the Atlanta Falcons, and I can't really speak to it, but you've played on grass, you've played on turf. The Falcons are a different football team on grass, and they're a turf team. And the last time they played on grass before this, they got shut out by the Carolina Panthers 30-0. Then they go and have fun beating the Buffalo Bills on turf, and then they come to the 49ers on grass and get whooped up on by a bunch of backups, 20-10.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, because the NFL grass is as good as it gets. Just it's very low. It's pretty fast. It gives a little bit, so you're not as worried about some of the injuries that may occur. So for some of these teams, I mean, maybe outdoor elements, but I mean, the weather was beautiful tonight in the Bay Area. So I have no idea what their issue is. Hey, I did want to say one thing. I saw some people mention it in the comments, but rest in peace to Doug Martin, the muscle hamster. And he's a guy that went to high school out here in Stockton at St. Mary's. And, tragically, I actually got a message from someone a couple of hours before it kind of, hit the news and everything. And just sad. You never know what, I don't want to speak too much on it because, what I'm hearing and whatnot, but yeah, it's tragic.
Yeah, tragic. He's only in his 30s, still a young guy. The muscle hamster, an all-time nickname as well, Doug Martin, and no doubt probably led a lot of our listeners to fantasy football championships. Really fun player to watch. Well, so that is sad. So rest in peace to the muscle hamster, Doug Martin. That's definitely very, very sad news for a guy that young. Niners improved to 5-2. Thanks everybody for tuning in here. Croc and I more on this game. We're going to start looking ahead to week 8 as well, because things move fast in the NFL. And of course, you can find it all every day right here. Make sure you're subscribed up to Locked On 49ers.